Hey everyone, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to make a landing page with React. So we'll be using MaterialUI to help us out with that. If you don't know that much about React, don't worry. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want, and I'll do my best to explain things and answer your questions. If you're new to the show, this is how it works. I set a timer for 25 minutes, and we do mostly code for 25 minutes, and then we take a 5-minute break, and I check the live chat, and I'll answer questions, as many as I can in 5 minutes. Then we'll do another 25-minute code session, and then after that, I'll spend the rest of the stream answering your questions. So if you can, put a question in the chat, and I'll definitely see that. If you can't, for whatever reason, put a question in the chat right now, you could always add it as a comment to this video, or you could ask me a question on any social media. My DMs are open, and I do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, let's get started. I will show you my screen. Let's get this code a little bit bigger. Okay. That might be an alright size. Let me know if it's not. Alright. And let me show you. Here we go. Let's start out like this. Y'all will get to see my excellent drawing skills. Okay. Here's the basic outline for the page that we're going to build. So we're going to have a hero section at the top. Above that will be our at bar, our top navigation menu that we already have. We're going to do a hero section that's going to be very similar to the one that we did on the home page, and then I'd like to have a section with a little bit of text, maybe icons. If we have some icons, that's going to highlight some of the programs on campus. We're going to have we're going to have another section that would highlight different types of programs. So these will be on campus, online, and then steps for how to apply. And these will be very brief with links to the ways to apply. And then we're going to have another section that potentially could include things about costs, or we could include some of the main selling points that seem to resonate with our potential students. So I work for a university, and this page is going to be the admissions landing page. So I actually did this sketch after sitting down with the graduate admissions people and seeing what they thought would work. But we're going to do one for the undergraduate admissions today, but we're going to use the same layout. So we're going to use a lot of just sample data, and then let the people from admissions give us the content that we need to fill it out later. Some other things that we may want to include are testimonials and other sales points, right? So those could potentially go here, and might be like a quote from a former student and a picture if we have a picture of them. So today we'll probably just use whatever images we can find and whatever quotes we can pull. The most important thing is getting something on the page, the layout, something to look at, because I have a meeting with the people from admissions coming up, I think next week, and I need to show them something because they're going to be the ones that are going to approve whether or not this site is ready to go live, because this is primarily a tool for marketing to prospective students. Okay, I won't make you look at my sketch anymore. Okay, so for those of you who haven't been following the stream, this is just kind of a view of the home page. So this is going to stay, this top navigation. Our hero section is going to look somewhat similar to this. We may end up going with maybe like a smaller version of this. This kind of thing I think is okay for a homepage, but for me personally, it gets a little annoying if I start seeing this on a lot of interior pages. I'd rather get to the content. So we may cut down on the height. and then we're going to have some similarities in the sections, and we may reuse some of these elements that we've already made, and that'll save us some code. But we'll probably have to code some new stuff as well. Okay. All right, let me say hi. Got a lot of action in the chat. Oh yeah, a lot of people in here. So I imagine there are some new people. Welcome. So hey everyone. I'm not going to say hi to everybody individually because there's a lot of people in here right now, but I just want to say hi, and I'll read through your comments in more detail at the end of the stream. Okay, let's get the Pomodoro timer started, and let me start up this ngrok server so that you all can view what I'm working on as I'm working on it, and you can inspect it in your browser, open up DevTools, mess around with it, whatever you want. So go ahead and click on that link. If clicking on the link doesn't work, you may want to try copying and pasting it. Sometimes the live chat links don't work right if you click. Alright, looks like it's working for at least some of you. So first things first, we need to actually create the page, the component page, and we need to make a route to it in our server.js file. And that's pretty much going to be the only back-end-ish type of stuff that we do. Really minimal. It's going to be all front-end stuff today. Okay, so whenever I create a new component, I always try to recycle code from a previous component to cut down on the amount of typing that needs to be done. So let's take a current page that we're already using, and we may as well use the home page because we're going to use so much of what's already on the home page. So our home page should be index. Yep, index. So I'm just going to copy and paste everything from index.js, and let's make a new file, and we're going to call this admissions.js, and I paste everything in there, and we need to change the name to admissions. Okay, other than that, everything should work. And now we need to point that URL path for admissions to the right place. So let's go to our server.js file, which I usually have open. There it is. And let's look up admissions. Admissions. There we go. Here's admissions. And we want to say our default is going to go to our default's going to now go to /admissions. So if you're not sure what's going on here, don't worry about it. This is all we're going to do right now. I guess the only thing that's important to know is that this just controls what component's going to render whenever we go to a certain URL. Okay, so what did I do wrong? What's it telling me? That should be fine, right? Oops. Default is admissions, and then what's the next thing? This needs to be secondary. Right? Can't remember the keywords I used. Let me double check. Let's see. Standard? Yeah, sorry, standard. Not sure what I was thinking when I named it standard. And that's not it. Alright, there we are. So I had to put that in as well, so that all the rest of the pages we want to go to the page component to be rendered. For now, this one is just going to go to the admissions page component. Okay, and yeah, and this should work. Cool. All right, so let's really test now and see if it does work. So we're gonna go to /admissions. Oh, quick update for those of you that have actually loaded this. Hey, it works, awesome. That have actually loaded this project onto your machine from GitHub, and links in the description if you want to check out the code on GitHub. It's all open source. Do what you want with it. But if you have downloaded it, please pull in the latest changes. I did a lot of work on Friday and like into Friday night, and I made some updates for the packages, and I had to update the version of Node that I was using. So you may have, depending on what version of Node you were currently running, it may not work anymore unless you update. So just a heads up on that. Okay, so we have our route to the admissions page working, which is great. Last week, nothing worked. Simple things broke and it was a mess. We're already doing better this week. All right, so now let's go into the code and rip out the stuff that we don't need and replace it with some other things. So, whoa, a lot of connections open on ngrok. That's awesome. Shout out to Incontrivable for giving us a free unlimited plan for these freeCodeCamp live streams with the ngrok service. Okay, so we're done with that server.js file, and we're just going to focus now on our admissions file, and let's give ourselves a ton of space to work with. And let me double check. I don't know if anybody said anything about the font size, so let me know now if the font size is too small. I'll increase it. I'll try to remember in about a minute to look back at the chat. Okay, so for now, so if you're not familiar with React, let me just give you a quick intro. So a React component it's like a chunk of code, and it can include your markup, right? Like your HTML, JavaScript, and CSS all in one. But the HTML doesn't, it looks kind of like HTML, but it has JavaScript blended in. We call that JSX. And your CSS may not look exactly like normal CSS. Okay, so in this case, our CSS is actually a JavaScript object. But it should look a bit familiar to you. There's just some difference. Like we have some camel casing going on here, and we don't have semicolons at the end of the line. All right, but other than that, these do exactly what they would normally do in CSS. And we also are pulling in code from a lot of other places. So all these imports at the top, we're pulling in other components and other pieces of code to help us. All right, so all we're doing is saying we want to import this thing, and we're going to call it typography in this case, and we're going to get it from here. And here is where we put in the path and the file name. Okay. All right, so these are all the styles. We're going to keep those as is for now, and we'll edit those later on when we need to. All right, and here's what we're going to start out with. So we have this hero component, and that's for our hero section that we see here. So a long time ago, months ago, we abstracted out that hero component into its own little component because we assumed like we're probably going to need to use this again for another page. Well, we finally have to use it again for another page. So good thing we did that. For now, I'm going to keep this image because I don't have another image in mind. So we're going to keep it like this, but eventually we'll change it out. And we're just going to change out a bit of the text. And we're going to see about setting the height. I don't know if I built that in yet or not, so we'll check that component out, see if it's built in. If not, we'll build something into the component to allow us to really easily change the height. If you joined a little bit late, I'm not ignoring your questions for good. We set a timer, and so in about 15 minutes, I'm gonna get to all the questions. So if you can stick around for a bit, I will answer it. This stream will also be it's also being recorded, and it will be available to watch the replay on this channel, the freeCodeCamp channel, So if you miss something, don't worry, you can always watch it again. So let's change this to, we're going to change it to undergraduate admissions, and then below this I'm just going to leave the tagline for the university, which is academically excellent, passionately Catholic. So it's a Catholic school run by Franciscans. And you know what, I want to keep these buttons because these are the main things that admissions would want you to do: apply, inquire, or visit. So we can keep those buttons. So a lot of that, it's nice, it can stay the same. So we'll save that, and then let's go to that hero component. So let me close up some of these folders so it's not so cluttered. Okay, so here's our components, and where's our hero? There we are. I mean, it's in alphabetical order. It shouldn't be that hard, right? Alright, so here's our hero component, and here's where we get our height from. This min height of 80 VH. That's VH is viewport height. So if you see 80, think 80% of the screen height. So I do want to drop that down, but right now we don't really have a way to drop that down through our props, right? So these are the things that we pass in. So if you see here, we passed in all this data into the component. These are called props. So we want to make a prop that could give us the height. So let's see. Let's just call it min height. So to be really clear what it is, we'll say min height, and for this one I want to pass in, let's go 60 VH. We'll see how that looks. Alright, so we're passing it in now, but we're not doing anything with it over here. So over here, I'm going to say min height. Okay, so we're using object destructuring here so that we don't have to keep typing in this props over and over again. So all of our props are here. Just nice to have a list of all the props anyway. And then down here, we're going to find the spot where we're putting these styles. So Parallax is the class that we've given it. So let's see where we have Parallax. These are all our buttons. Here we go, Parallax. So what we'll do, we already are overriding a style here for the background image, so we're just going to do it again, and we're going to add a style. Okay, so this is similar to the normal style attribute that you can give an element in HTML, right? But instead, we have these brackets. The first set of brackets says, hey, we're going to write some JavaScript. The second set of brackets, since we're in JavaScript now, indicates a JavaScript object. So again, like it was above, we have our CSS in the form of a JavaScript object. Okay, and we're going to do just like we did here. We're going to make use of template literals, which is an ES6, ES 2015 thing that allow us to mix strings with JavaScript without having to concatenate with a bunch of plus signs. So this is what we'll do. So let's put in min height, and then we'll use, actually, will we need to? No, we won't, because we've put it all together. So we should be able to just add in min height. Let's see if that works. I'm a little bit, min is not defined. It's not gonna like me saying min. Alright, so let's see. Let's say minimum height. How about that? And that'll avoid confusion. minimum height. Minimum height, and then we'll go back here and add in minimum. Right, so now there will be no confusion between the CSS that says min height and our variable that we've passed in as a prop that's minimum height. Okay, let's check it out now. Hey, it worked, right? So you can see it used to be down here, now it's much smaller. So I like that for now. Maybe I'll go a little bit smaller. We'll see. It definitely depends on the image that we end up using, as whether or not that image will even work with these kind of dimensions. Yeah, but you can see when we do that, it's definitely a percentage, right, of the screen. So it changes as we move things around. Just about 10 more minutes and then I'll get to the questions. Alright, awesome. So that part of this is for now done, right? But we definitely need to get some input on the image and the text to put here. But I believe the buttons and undergraduate admissions will be fine. Alright, so for this next part, let's go ahead and set it up for testimonials. I think testimonials are good. I mean, think about it. When you go to Amazon and you look at a product, you usually scroll down and see what people say about it. At least I know I do, right? I want to make sure, okay, this product looks cool. I check the price first, and I check to see if it's Prime, so I get that free shipping, right? And then the very next thing I check is I scroll down and see, you know, what did people say? So I think that would also be useful if a potential student is looking at Franciscan University and they say, all right, well, I know all the marketing stuff they're putting out there, but what did other people say? All right, now, of course, we're only going to put the good stuff on our website for reviews, but, you know, that's how it goes. So let's take this style of card, and let's reuse this style for our testimony, our testimonials. So we'll do an image and then a quote, and we're not going to have a link, right? So depending on the content we get, maybe this could end up being an entire page, but for now I'm just going to assume we just have a really small quote and a small image, and that's it. And we'll try to go 3 across on a large screen. Of course, they'll stack on mobile. Also, as I'm going through, if any of you have suggestions for what I'm doing, or if you see me doing something wrong, let me know. Alright, so let's figure out what component this is. And it looks like profile card. Great. So this is profile card, and let's grab this whole thing, because there's 2 profile cards in here already. I'm just going to take this out. 2 profile cards in there already, and so that'll be good. That's what we want. And let's make a container. So we're going to put it in right here. So for our container, we're just going to make a div, and we're going to give it we're going to do a grid. This is something that comes with MaterialUI. If you're not familiar with React, think of MaterialUI as like Bootstrap is, right? Or Materialized CSS is for like a normal website, like a JavaScript, just vanilla JavaScript site. So what Material UI does is it gives us a set of styles and components that we can use, and it keeps a consistent material design feel to the site. So we're going to use this grid, and we're going to call it, we're going to give it the attribute or prop of container. All right, so we want a container grid. We'll go ahead and close that out as well. Oops. Okay, let me double check and make sure it's supposed to be container. I think it is. I don't know why I didn't have a container earlier. Okay, so we made a grid container, and now we have these grid items inside of here. And I want to try to do 3 items, so let's add a third one. And notice when we have this grid that I may end up taking this class off. We'll have to see what's in there. But for our other props, we're saying we have extra small, small, medium, and large. These are screen sizes. So we're telling it how many columns out of 12 to take up on a particular screen size. So right now, we're taking up the full width, 12 columns, on an extra small screen, and on all other screen sizes, we're taking up half the width. Well, that worked when we only had 2, but now we have 3, so that's definitely not going to work. So let's change this up, and let's try 4, right? So 4 columns will allow us to have 3 items, right, side by side. Okay. So let's see how that looks. Alright, there we go. So there's our 3 cards side by side. Okay, so a few things to note. I think we can go a bit smaller with these cards, and I don't know that I like them being so wide across. I would prefer maybe a bit more margin on the sides, and I don't like that they're not the same height. So other than that, they're showing up properly. Let's shrink this down, right? You see, and they then stack up when we shrink them down. Okay, so they basically behave the way that they're supposed to. Okay, I do want to check out what kind of CSS we're adding here. So let's find our class called grid item fix. And there we are. So we're saying width 100%, padding 16. Okay, there's nothing there that would really mess up anything that we're doing. So I'm gonna leave it like that. What I think we ought to do though is add this content container in. All right, this will give us that padding on the sides that we want. And you see, depending on the screen size, we'll have like more or less padding. So we're not actually adding like padding, right? Like we would do a CSS padding. We're just setting the maximum width to a percentage. So it seems like padding, right? And on a smaller screen, we have less on the sides, which makes sense because we want to be able to display more content on a small screen. But on a large screen, you know, the content would be huge. The images would be way too big, which is exactly what we have going on here. So let's grab this content container. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to come down here to our grid container, and we're give it a class name of, and we're going to say classes, and I'll paste that in. There we are. So those styles should all be applied now. Alright, awesome. So now you see we have much smaller images. Okay. Yeah, this works. I definitely want to try to find images of students where, so like this type of image will work where it's primarily the student. You see the student. When we have this one where, you know, the image is primarily the background, right? This hallway. it doesn't work quite as much because the images are now a bit smaller. So probably want to switch out these images. Of course, we're going to have different students. But for now, this will work. Let's just remove these links though. I don't want the links right now. And we built these components so that I believe we should be able to remove this prop for link. And oops. And once we remove the prop, it just won't display that link anymore. Okay, so otherwise, if you try to do that and you haven't built that in, what you may end up with is an error, because it'll be looking for data that's not there and it might throw an error. So let's save that, and this will be the last thing we check before we go to the questions. Yep, so there we go, no errors. Alright, so got the hero section and that first section pretty much laid out. Okay, notice I'm not doing any really detailed stuff. That'll come on the second pass when we really get into things. Also, before I have final approval, it's almost a waste of time to go into the details and try to fix everything. You know, we could spend hours, you know, just on this section getting everything perfect, and then I'll go into a meeting and find out they don't want that section at all, and we throw it out, right? Okay. Let me do a break. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top of the chat and just go down. So if you asked your question recently, I may not get to it this time, but I'll get to it at the end of the stream. Sherman said, before the stream even started, is it a static website, vanilla React? You're going to use things like Gatsby, hopefully vanilla. We're using Next.js, so it's not exactly vanilla React, but Next doesn't add in a whole lot of extra stuff. So in terms of how we design the components themselves, it's pretty much vanilla React, unless, you know, if you want to count MaterialUI, obviously that's not vanilla. Hey everyone, see a lot of you saying hi. Morris asked what live stream software I'm using. OBS. So OBS is free, and I believe it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So check it out. If anybody has questions about how I do my settings for OBS, let me know. I can screenshot my settings. Okay, Juan asked what I'm building, and I think I kind of covered that. So hopefully I answered your question. Juan, if you still have questions about what I'm building, let me know. Nisar says, you use Gatsby for Project 5 Day 2. Did you use further Gatsby for Project 5 or use Gatsby just for Project 5 Day 2? We ended up not using Gatsby and we went with Next.js. It fit the requirements of our project better and I was more familiar with it. So we ended up going with Next. So we didn't use Gatsby for that project. But we still have the Gatsby branch available. So if you wanted to go back and, you know, use that as a basis for a project, feel free. It may be a bit outdated now since that was 6 months ago. All right, Michael Creel says, don't put cost on the front page. Maybe don't put, can be added with it, but don't put it on the page that can be added with SEO. Maybe add a link to it. Yeah, you know what? One thing is, for our graduate program, the price is a really good price. So we want to put the cost for that because it's a big selling point. Our undergrad program is definitely a good price for a private education, but it's not something that people say, wow, this is a really cheap school. So we don't really want to add that as, you know, advertise that. College costs so much money that even if it's a good price, it still seems like a lot. So we don't really want to put that on there. And you're definitely right, Michael. I'm not trying to hide it from anybody, but you don't just want that to stand out on the very first page. Steven says, amazing art, totally makes sense. Worst handwriting ever. Yeah, for sure. I type. I don't need to write on paper, right? Juan says, give me the link to get to your source code. It's in the description. So just kind of scroll down and check the link in the description. Crystal says, what language are you coding this with? This is JavaScript. In particular, it's React, which is a library that helps us build progressive web apps in JavaScript. And you can build other things with it as well. Let's see. Juan says, cool, I'm going to clone your web with the source code. Awesome. Let's see. Crystal says, what's the name of your editor? It is Visual Studio Code. So I see Joby, thanks for answering that in the chat. What type of font are you using? For the website itself, we're using Roboto. And then for my editor, it's Fira font or Fira font. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. F-I-R-A. And that is Michael added in the chat. It's Visual Studio Code with the Seti theme. So S-E-T-I is the theme that I'm using. Christopher says good font size. All right, awesome. I'm glad you all can see that. All right. Oh, Michael said might want to add that ngrok shout out to your YouTube description for the stream. That's a really great idea. Maybe I'll write up something about that. Okay, I'm gonna mark down where I'm leaving off at in the chat because my timer just went up, and that way I can come right back to it after we do another 25 minutes of code. Okay, so if I didn't get to your question now, apologies, but I definitely will get to it after the next 25-minute coding session. Let's start this up. Okay, and let me put the link into this Pomodoro clock. This was built by Harshit, who frequently watches the stream. Not here today, though, but it's a nice Pomodoro clock. So go ahead, and a few other of you that watch the stream also have made really awesome Pomodoro clocks. So I'll shout out your clocks if you want me to. Just let me know. Okay, where are we at? Wait a second. What just happened? There we are. All right, let's go into the next section then. Like I said, I don't want to be too detailed about this. So let's see. So we said that our next section was going to be our programs. Now, this would work for our graduate programs because we don't have so many programs. But for our undergrad programs, I don't think that layout would work. So let's think of another way we could do this. I'm thinking we need to break this out into categories. So let's see if we can keep... I definitely want to break it out into... We could do 3 categories. That would work. We could do 5 categories. We could do 6 categories. I think any of those combinations would work, just in terms of laying things out on a screen so it would look okay. So you know what? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at our page that lists all of our undergraduate programs. So it should be UG majors. All right, so this is just the list that's come. Maybe that's not it. Maybe it's... Oh no. It's automatically sending us here now. Alright. I'm not going to worry about that now because I don't want to get into the server stuff more, but I'll have to fix that after. So let's go here. academics UG majors. Alright, that'll actually work. Academics. That makes sense. Okay. There we are. Okay, so here's all the majors that we currently have. So I'm wondering, I don't know how many that is. But we definitely could split things up. Okay, we could go through like humanities or sciences. I mean, that's definitely a split. We could do social sciences as a split. All right, let's try this split. Let's try humanities, science, and social science. And then I'll let admissions figure out what categories to put what in. Oh, Michael Creer said 53. Oh, 53 majors. Okay, that's going to be a lot. Let's see how it looks. How many do you have? Business. Yeah. I'm just gonna put these categories down as an example of what could be, so that we can show it at the meeting. All right, so let's go back to this page so we can visualize this. So I'm envisioning, like, let's say 5 categories. So we would have like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5 would be in between in these spaces. So we'll have bigger gaps here, but they'll kind of split the difference. And what we'll have is essentially lists. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to work. Is it that in terms of it's going to look good? But I think it's worth a shot. I think it'll give the students very quick access to more information about what they want to do, and it'll let them know right off the bat, you know, here's what the majors we have. Here's what we offer, right? Our product is based off of majors. So I think that's a great thing to put out there right away. Here's what we offer. Here's all the flavors of college that we offer here, right? Okay, so let's just grab this grid that we just made. And let's add this in here. Could we do... Yeah, let's add it here. We may not. Well, this will work for now. I may want to change this up a bit later on, but no sense in trying to refactor anything right now. Did I get everything? There we are. Okay. So instead of profile cards, let's get rid of these profile cards for now. We're gonna create essentially our own thing, and if we really like it, we want it to work, we'll make it our component. But for right now, I don't have a component that does what I want it to do already, so let's just go with this. Let's do a... Actually, we just did this somewhere. We might be able to copy and paste. What page did we just do this on? Okay. Some of you were there for that stream, I know. I was asking about how to correctly put a heading on a list in a way that screen readers would understand. What page was that? What were we working on? I can't remember. If anybody remembers, let me know in the chat and we can copy that. For now, I'll just make this list because I know we need the list. UL, let's do a few LIs. wish I had Emmett in here. I'm not sure if I have Emmett in here. Hold on a second. I forget how to do it anyway. The education page. Is that it? The one with the courses. Yep, that's it. That is it. Where is it at? Sample schedule. Yes. Awesome. Section. That's how we did it. We did section. That's what we want. Okay, so it's good to always have accessibility in mind, and by that I mean like mainly screen readers, so they'll be able to see it, but not just screen readers, also like the correct contrast between your fonts and your backgrounds, good font sizes. So let's add this. So we'll just go with H4s just like we did before, and we can even pull over the styles as well. Let's see. For now, H4. I'm not gonna put anything in these for now. Let's see. So if we have about 50 majors and we're gonna have 5 of these categories, then I'll need like 10 items in here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. Why is my my indentation is crazy? Well, the indentation will get fixed on save. Okay, so for this grid item, yeah, this will actually work. This will work as is. We just need to copy this over a few times. Actually, let's get rid of these. So let's copy this. You know what? We may as well let's fill in something so we can actually see it on the page. Major. There we are. We'll need 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for these ones down here, these grids, we're going to switch this up, and we're going to leave them as 4, but we want to offset them. Okay, so let's look up how we do this offset. Grid. So we're going to check out grid. This is MaterialUI. I'm going to put the link in here to where I'm looking this up in the chat. That way you can check this out as well. So I'm assuming there's an offset, because that seems like something people would want, right? Let's find OFS. Okay. So we may. Do you want an offset or not? If there's no offset built in, we could just add like an empty grid tag. Let's check the API and see what we have. All right, let's try this. So I want a grid. So this 1, 2, 3. So in between 3 and 4, let's put another grid. Let's remove everything though. And we actually don't need this ending. So let's remove everything, and on extra small, let's say it's 0. I don't know that we can actually put 0 in there if that's valid, but I don't want this to take up any space if if we're on a small screen. So I may be able to get away with putting 1 in there. We'll see. We'll see how it works. But if 0 works, then that's what I want to go with first. So we're going to go 0, but then on the small screen, I want to do it like this. So we're going to have our 2 larger sections that we want to see that are going to be visible, and they're going to be 4 and 4. That makes 8, right? So that gives us a whole nother 4 that we have to fill up that space. So that's why we're going to make this one 2, and that's going to be the beginning. And then at the end, we're going to add another blank grid item that's also going to take up 2 columns. All right, let's see what happens. I'm kind of expecting an error, but whoa, no error? All right, so good to know. You can put 0 as a grid item, and let's double check and make sure that actually works. So this is extra small screen size. Awesome. Awesome, great. Okay, so that's what we have. Doesn't look good at all right now, but let's bring over our styles that we had already figured out on another component, and that way, yeah, that way we'll see what it looks like after this. I was just kind of looking at this spacing, like maybe we should center this stuff because it's all over to the side, but let's add our styles first and then see what we can do. So on the sample schedule component that we made last week, we had list grid item. So on the grid itself, we had a style of list grid item. On our UL, we had styles list. On our H4, we had list header. And then our LI, we had list item. So we're going to copy over quite a few styles here. So list grid item, list header, and list item. List item, list header, list grid item. There we are. All right, let's copy all of those, and we'll put them up here with the rest of our styles. It looks like we already have a list item. Left line item start. List style type none. Let's say, let's just call this major list item. So we'll just change that up a bit, and then now on these we can add in our class names. So let's see, we can probably get rid of this grid item fix because that was for a different issue. So I doubt we need that anymore. And actually, you know what, let's get rid of these first because we don't need any styles on these ones. Alright, there we are. So we're going to replace grid fix item with list grid item that we just pulled over. Okay, and we can check out what these styles are actually doing, you know, when we get them all switched over. But for now, list grid item. UL. For now, I think it's better to see it first, and then we'll explain it after. We do class name, classes dot list, and then there's our ULs. Our H4s are gonna get Really should have done this before I copied them all. Whoops. That would have been smarter. Class name equals classes. Oops, that's not an equal sign. Equals classes dot list header. All right, and then finally LIs. That's a lot of LIs. We can do this. We're going to test the limits of multiple cursors. And we changed that, didn't we? List item. We changed it to major list item, right? All right, there we go. Class name equals classes dot major list item. That looked really cool. I mean, I don't know, that just looked cool editing all those lines all at once. So hopefully I didn't mess it up. Let's save it and see what it looks like. Alright, not too much different, really. But we don't have any of those bullets anymore. Okay. Let's try to center this at least. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult. Let's see. Well, again, let's try the easy part first. Okay. About 5 more minutes, less than 5 minutes. I'm gonna go back to the questions. Okay, so let's see. See if we can just do a text align center. Yeah, we can. Awesome. See, we can do a center. That's great. We can do it on here as well. This is what I was talking about with the easy thing. Okay, we could do it the easy way and just have them all centered. You know what? For now, let's go with that. Okay, I don't normally like to have centered things like this. I think it looks kind of weird to have it like different starting points for the lines. So the way around that would be, if that does look really weird, to try to just center the list inside of the div. But we can already see like kind of an issue, right? Because we're already full width. So probably end up using some, I don't know what I'd use, but I'm not going to worry about it now. This should be enough that once we get some real names of the courses in here, it'll be alright. But I'm not going to type out manually all the names of all of these, right? That would be crazy. Okay, I just did this manually just so we could get a nice look of what we're doing, right? So at first we're going to build this out, and it is going to be a lot of markup here. But then eventually all this data will be pulled in from our content management system. So there really will be nothing but just the bare bones in this component. So you wouldn't normally want to leave it like that, where you have so much going on, you know, in one component. Okay. Alright, and I should only have a few minutes left. 2 minutes. Alright, what do we do for 2 minutes? I know what we do for 2 minutes. We commit this stuff so I don't forget. So you get status. Alright, we can see what we've done. We've edited the hero component. We added the functionality to be able to pass in the minimum height as a prop. Alright, we worked on the server just to get the route going where we wanted. And then we've also added in this new component, admissions.js. So let's get add. And I'm going to just add in a dot because that puts everything in there. Wait, Nikki says GitHub is down. Whoa, GitHub is down? It's working for me. Maybe it's just down regionally. Let me know. Is it down? How many people have GitHub down right now? Let me know in the chat. I mean, I'm going to try to push either way, but... Okay, so it is working for some people. Well, hopefully it'll work for us. Okay, so we're going to add a little commit message here. This will be a new feature. Let's say add admissions page component. Alright, that works. Alright, and my timer is just starting to go off, so that means I have about 20 seconds left. Okay, so we have some things set up here that it'll automatically format our code and it will run some tests. Assuming everything passes, then we're good to go with this commit. So if you do want to work on this on your own computer, then just be aware that all this will happen when you try to commit using yarn CM instead of the normal method of committing. But it looks like everything passed, and let's see if we can get this to push to GitHub. Hey, it worked. Okay, so I'm guessing maybe GitHub is down regionally. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It would be odd if GitHub was down everywhere. Well, I mean, not unheard of, but... Okay. Alright, so that's the timer for... Oh, y'all didn't hear the timer. I heard the timer. So anyway, timer's up. So now I'm going to go to the chat and pick up where we left off and answer all the questions that are there. It's about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, so my time. I have a meeting at 3 p.m., so I can answer questions for about 45 minutes if I have that many questions. All right. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so Phoenix asks a little bit about ngrok, like the how and why of it. So ngrok is a service that allows you to run something locally on your machine, share a link, and then somebody else can see what you're working on as you're working on it. So you make changes, you save it in your editor, it automatically shows up on their screen. So I mean, you can imagine this would be really useful for like showing a client updates. You know, potentially if you're pair programming or something like that, and you want to see, I'm saying like pair programming remotely, right? And you want to be able to see the changes, you know, immediately, or have the other person see the changes immediately and be able to inspect it in DevTools. Right, it works. And it works out really well for this live stream so that you all also have access to all the changes immediately without me having to push it to a server somewhere. How that works internally, I have no idea. Joby says, have you done a high fidelity prototype? You mean like a sketch file that's interactive type of prototype? No, we didn't. I'm trying to think. I don't remember if we did some of that earlier on, but at this point, no. I just go right from the little sketch I did, and we have enough components that we can kind of go right into this. To be honest with you, it's faster for me to just throw up some code like this and adjust it a little bit than to do this in Sketch or something like Sketch. So as long as, if I was doing some like really different design, it probably wouldn't be the case, but with these design elements and material design in general, I've worked with it so much that it is faster for me just to code things. And with Material UI, we have so many pre-built things, so I didn't really see the need to do a prototype first. Alright, Divyesh says, hello everyone, after getting out 40 plus interviews with Node and Express, I finally started learning React and also bought Stephen Gritter's course on Udemy. I've read a few Medium articles as well. Awesome. That's really awesome. Congratulations. Let's see. Christopher says, looks really weird on laptop size. Alright, I don't remember what part looks weird. The whole thing or a specific part of the page? Let me know. Divyes asked if I had a haircut. I did. I got a haircut last week. I told him to go really short, so it still looks like it's a fresh haircut. Thanks for noticing. What do y'all think? Haircut, good, bad? Let me know in the chat. It's super important what y'all think about my haircut. Chris says, no, the smaller viewport height on the admissions page. Oh, okay. So you're saying the hero section with a smaller height looks weird. Okay. Yeah, I could see how potentially if we had a wider screen that was a little bit short, it might look weird. I really think what's going to happen is it's going to end up depending on what image we have here, and we'll adjust the height to fit the image. But we'll see. Alright, it says there's no subtitles. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know how we would subtitle a live stream. I mean, potentially if we could get somebody to add subtitles afterwards, at least the recordings could be subtitled. But unfortunately, I only speak English. Alright, Divyes says, please suggest some kind of learning approach I should be open to while going forward with React.js. The best advice I have for learning, and this is not just with React but everything, is try to do a little bit every day so it's always fresh in your mind. If you can avoid it, don't do like every Saturday I'm going to do a bunch of stuff and then I'm not going to do anything else with it all week, right? You'll forget so much. You'll learn, but not nearly as fast as if you broke that down. Instead of doing like 8 hours on Saturday, you did about an hour every day. So I'd stick to something like that and just be consistent with it. Michael says, I was wondering whether you could use that card theme on the faculty list page also. It would keep the site's theme consistent. Yeah, we might be able to. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're right. We could definitely just use cards for the faculty. I'll consider that. I mean, we already have that page done, so I'd hate to go back and do more since there's so much else to do, but I kind of do like that suggestion. Christopher says, the spacing between the cards and the banner above them is different. The spacing between the cards and the banner should be larger or equal to the spacing between the cards. Okay, cool. Yeah, stuff like that. Like I said, we're not going to worry about details right now, but I am interested in stuff like that. So especially like if you see issues like that and you have time, please make an issue on GitHub, on the GitHub repo, and then that way I can go back and check those out. Niki says, I don't put much stock in testimonials a website puts there themselves. They're going to cherry pick most of the time. It still makes sense to put them there. Yeah, you're right. You're right, for sure. Divya says, do you like those cards to open as modals, like the design Cora had sometime back, but they changed it back to normal for viewing the answer? Sometimes I like using modals and sometimes not. It just kind of depends on what content we're going to, and potentially. So if there's not really a lot of content, a modal does make sense. But if there's enough content for a separate page, I like having a separate page with its own URL. Just for SEO purposes, I like that. Michael says, put the cards in a div, then adding align items stretched to the div should make them all the same height, shouldn't it? Yeah, you know what, Michael? I know we've handled this issue before, so I was kind of thinking of just going back to some of the older code and seeing, like, how did we fix that? But you're right, it's going to be something like that that'll make all these the same. What'll end up happening, though, is, there'll be some space at the bottom. So no matter what, it's going to look a little odd, but I'd rather have white space below this and the card come down to here than to obviously have the cards be different. It's slightly less weird to have the same height of the cards with white space at the bottom of the card. Let's see. Christopher Brown says 15-to-1 student-faculty ratio is not centered vertically. Yeah, you're right. It does look a little bit off, huh? Yeah, like that's another thing that's like a perfect issue, right? Because that's an easy fix that either I could clean up one day when I only have a few minutes and I try to get, just figure out something I can do in 5 minutes, or if somebody else, especially somebody who's a beginner, wants to contribute to a project, they can pick that up and submit a pull request for that as well. Tuan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly, but TUAN with a little symbol over top of the A. It says Vue, React, or Angular. Which do you like? I like React. I haven't used Angular since Angular 1 was out, and I wasn't that great with it. I don't think it was Angular's fault. I think it was just my inexperience. I haven't tried Vue, but I've heard good things. So really, I only have experience with React. But I do really like using React. Nisar says, do we need to connect project 1, 2, 3, or should we follow project 5? Yeah, all the projects are separate projects, so you don't have to go through project 1, 2, and 3. You could go directly to project 5 if you like. Or you could, you just check out video titles and see if there's certain topics that you want to learn more about. But each project is slightly different in terms of the technology that we've used. So maybe, just want to check out each project to see what we're using, and then, watch the one that you're most interested in. Noble and Savage says, hi all, hi Jesse, love to all. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Christopher says, add a search function, a simple filter. Are we talking about a search for majors? I want them to be displayed. So, I mean, we already have like a site-wide search where you could actually click to say, like, I just want to search for majors. So that's already there, and it's already going to be accessible from this page. But here is more like, look at all the stuff we have. So I kind of want users to be able to see it all. I'm assuming that that's what you were talking about, was the list of majors. Sahil says, what is React? I'm new here. React is a JavaScript library that helps you to build progressive web apps. So, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. If you want to get into more detail, you check out the React website. You could read a lot about it. But, the short story is, it's just another way to build websites or apps using JavaScript. So it's just kind of like a certain pattern and way of building your app. Michael says, we've been working on the search for months and still haven't got it looking good. Yeah, we're going to have to go back to the search soon. I finally have... Part of the reason why we put it on hold is I didn't have the data set up like I needed to for the search to actually be like 100% functional. But now I do have the data set up. So now it makes more sense to go back in and finish it and try to make it look as good as we can. Let's see. Julio says, do you use any React extension to format JSX automatically? Yeah, we have some auto formatting going on with ESLint, like on save, with Visual Studio Code plugins, and we also have using Husky, Prettier, and ESLint. Whenever we commit, it auto formats the code. So no matter what kind of code you write, if you go to commit it, it's going to format it in the style that we like, which is we're using standard JS style, which is kind of nice because you can do it however you want in terms of tabs, spaces, semicolons, no semicolons. It doesn't matter. It'll all be put into the same style once it gets committed. Oh, okay, cool. Nikki says, using the extra small 0 like we did here would probably be the same thing as false, since 0 is a falsy value. Cool, I didn't think about it. I mean, either way it worked, so that's cool, but yeah, you're right. Michael says, since they're working, delete all but one, mod it, and then copy and paste it. Yeah. Oh, you mean all these lists? Yeah. I'll do that. I mean, we didn't have time today. during the stream, but that's the next step, is basically getting rid of all of these, turning one of them into a component, so it'll be in its own component, and then importing that component and just iterating over the data, which we'll probably pull the data in from our content management system, which we happen to be using WordPress, and we'll use GraphQL or the REST API to pull the data in. We'll just map over it all. It'll come in JSON format, and then it'll put out onto the page as many of these as we want, and we won't have to have it cluttered up with all this markup. It'll basically just be like this, one line with a couple of props, and that way this component will stay, nice and small, easily readable. If you want to see like how to do something like that, you can check out some of the previous videos. I'm pretty sure we just did that exact thing last week. Let's see. Oh, okay, Christopher says the code you're writing is redundant. Store all these in an array of arrays and iterate. Yeah, that's exactly right. Christopher says use .map. Yeah, Christopher. That's so. If you check out our other components, that's exactly what we've been doing. So I guess a good example is like our drawer menu. So the entire side navigation menu is here as an array of objects, and then when it actually the actual component is just one component that just gets printed out over and over again. But when I'm trying to nail down the design, I always like to do it like this first, because it just gives me a lot more control. Like, I don't have to worry about all the props are passing in and things like that. It's just, I'm just putting markup on the page and I'm editing it. It's really simple. Once I have it to the point where it's like, okay, I like this, I think I'm definitely going to go with this, then I turn it into a component. And then after that, we can always edit it a bit, but for now, it's just kind of testing it out. I think it's like, don't make another component if you're not sure if you even need that on the page yet, if you're even going to use it. Alright, wait a second. So Phoenix is saying instead of selecting all the li tags one by one, you could use Command Control G. So what does that do? What's Command Control G do? Alright, I lost my place, sorry. It auto-scrolled me down to the bottom. Okay, so officially it seems like GitHub is working now for most of you. So maybe it was down briefly. Amir says we could have some fake data objects for now until we get the CMS ready. Yeah, we could. I mean, since I already have this data in the CMS, I think it'd be okay. We could just pull it from the CMS. But for now, I was really more worried about like, would my idea for aligning these even look right at all? Would it look terrible? So that was kind of more what we were trying to get there. but I would actually like to see it with the real data. So that will probably be, after I turn it into its own component, the next step would then be to pull in the real data. David said, how did you fill in those LIs simultaneously? Okay, so we used, I don't know what the shortcut is on for everything, but I can select this text, and then on a Mac I press Command D, and it selects the next instance of that particular string, all the way down, so I can keep selecting it. So normally you only use it for like 2 or 3 things. In this case, I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool to try it out on a bunch of things just to see how it worked, and it worked fine. There was no lag or anything, so, and I thought it kind of looked cool to have it all typing out. So yeah, normally I would probably do a find and replace if it were more, but it just so happened it was pretty easy to just go all the way down with the with Command D. Lenovo says, how are you doing, Jesse? It's me, Inna. I'm doing well. I always enjoy your stream. Inna, how come your name's Lenovo Yoga now on here? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm glad you're doing well. Inna also says, nice haircut. Thanks. Amir says, can we get that live link? Sure, the ngrok link? Yeah. Sorry about that. I pasted it in earlier, but I'm not sure if those of you who joined later can see it or not. So I'll paste that in again. And we also have the dev site, which is not quite as up to date. But we have our dev site available too, and it shouldn't be that slow. I'm pretty sure I set it to always have an instance open with next, so it shouldn't have to load up a new instance. Anyway. Michael says, don't adjust the height to fit the image, adjust the image to fit the height. Well, what I was thinking, Michael, is it's possible that I might have to put a certain image in. Like, somebody higher up than me might say, you have to use this image, and then I'll be stuck with an image, so I'll have to make it work. So, yeah, so I may not have the ability to choose what image I want. Phoenix says, what exactly is Firebase and Flutter? Okay, so Firebase is a Google service. Is it normally used for apps as like a database for apps? I'm not sure what people normally use it for, but I think it's normally for apps. So it's like a database as a service thing. Flutter, so Flutter is really new, as far as I know, and I haven't learned very much about it at all. I'm pretty sure it's a way to make apps, and that's about all I know. So I haven't learned anything about Flutter yet, other than that, and that might not be the case. So don't take my word for it. All right, Christopher Brown says, no reason to use cards for faculty lists, in my opinion. Okay. Cool, yeah. Like I said, I think I probably won't put the cards in now, just because we have so much other stuff to work on, and the faculty list looks okay right now. So for those of you who haven't been following the project, this is a very, very big site. So the strategy right now is to get all the data there, make sure it's accessible and SEO friendly, and it looks decent, and it's fast. Step 2, after we launch, is to go into each section, meet with the people at the university who would be in charge of each section, like, that's their department or the professors that teach these courses, and then figure out how we can best style things and what content we should put on there to make it as good as it can be. So we'll kind of slowly go through there and then train those people to edit the content through WordPress. So the old website is just so slow, and it's not great on mobile, that pretty much anything we do will be a big improvement. So if it seems like I'm being a bit sloppy with the details, I mean, that's kind of the point, is that we just need this thing to be done, and it doesn't need to be perfect, because it's, within the next few months, we're going to be going through some sections and changing them completely. All right. Thirsty Pooch says, I've got a question. When using Node.js on Windows, and some exercises which include such as gulp, when I try to run gulp, I get module not found. Why is this? Should I use yarn? You get module not found when you try to run gulp? I guess you'd need to make sure you have gulp installed. You should definitely run npm install or yarn first to make sure that gulp is installed. That would be my guess. I mean, it's hard to say without seeing the project, seeing what's going on, but yeah, definitely make sure that you do have gulp installed. Like, try in your command line running gulp and then putting space -v to see if it'll give you your version of gulp. If it doesn't, then maybe gulp's not installed. Let's see. I think I'm almost through. Let me check my time. Okay, still pretty good on time. So I may be able to answer a few more questions before my meeting. Amir says, I tried Angular, React, and Vue, and in my experience I found Vue better. You can say it's best of both worlds. Alright, that's interesting. I definitely like to try Vue at some point. It's just, all my projects now have been React, so it kind of makes sense for me to just try to get better at React, because I have a lot of things now that I'm going to have to maintain in React. But maybe for a side project or something, something small, I could try out Vue. Destroyer of Worlds says, Sass or styled components? I haven't decided on what my favorite way to style React components is. Honestly, I've tried a few different ways, and I keep trying more ways. So within the same project, I've done like 2 or 3 different ways. I'm still trying to decide. Let's see. All right. Aviral says, "What's P5D88?" That's Project 5 Day 88. So this is the 5th project we've done on this live stream, and it is day 88 of the project. We really stream 88, so I don't stream every day. But we've been working on this project for about 6 or 7 months, something like that. All right, Christopher Brown says to make cards same height on profile card, set height to 100%. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna. All right. I was about to try it, but maybe I won't try it right now because I need to make sure I get through these questions. But thank you for that. Okay, so Phoenix saying that the shortcut he gave earlier was for selecting all instances of that particular, those particular characters. Okay, cool. I'll have to try that. All right, Christopher says Vue is better, but it's a little weirder to learn than React. Okay. Artem says jQuery is still the best. Hey, I made a bunch of stuff in jQuery before I learned React, so I still have things that I maintain that are jQuery based. Christopher says your compose thing is like Sass and JavaScript. I like it that way, much easier to use. Christopher says jQuery isn't relevant anymore. I don't know. If you're building new stuff, yeah, I'm not going to use jQuery, but there are a lot of sites that are out there that use jQuery. So I guess it depends on what you're working on. Like the odds of going into an existing project and having to use some jQuery are pretty good. I mean, I don't know what the current stats are, but I mean, I think it's still the majority of websites on the internet have jQuery on them. So, yeah, I would never pick jQuery if I were making something new. But like I said, I still have to maintain sites that have jQuery. So it's definitely still good to know it because you'll probably see it and work on it. And I mean, shoot, like before React and all that, I mean, jQuery was where it was at. Anoop says, have you tried styled components? Does it work with Internet Explorer? The last time I used styled components was for React Native, so I never tested it, obviously, in Internet Explorer, so I'm not sure about that. Does anybody know? I don't see why it wouldn't work. Assuming that the content, the markup that gets spit out and actually sent to the browser is something that Internet Explorer could use, it definitely could work. Skip Monday says hello from Nigeria. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Amir says Vue combined AngularJS and React. So if you know both, I guess it's fine. Such vif or ngif and mount component did mount. So as I said, it's best of both worlds. Phoenix says, I have a Tamper Monkey script which checks for jQuery on websites. A lot of sites still has it in. Yeah, for sure. Christopher says, the problem with jQuery is that it contains a bunch of bloat that you probably won't be using, and that slows down a lot of sites. Like I was applying for a job, and I checked their site, and it was slow. I even did an audit on it. jQuery is the main problem. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to pick jQuery now for a new project, but I wouldn't ignore jQuery in terms of it, like knowing about it and knowing basics about jQuery, just because, like, if you're a freelancer and you work on existing sites for people, you're going to see jQuery, right? If you're going to go work for a large company that's not like one of the big tech companies, you're probably going to work with jQuery, right? There are very few companies that don't have jQuery going on somewhere. Let's see. Anoop says, what are your thoughts on server-side rendered React? Oh, I almost always use server-side rendered React because it's a must for search engine optimization. Okay, so there's a nice performance benefit on initial load as well, but mainly like you need that server-side rendering for search engines to be able to see your content if you're pulling it from APIs. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. And for me, over the last year or two, the easiest way to do that has been just to use Next.js because it works automatically. You don't have to set it up. Amir says, the fun part is Angular uses jQuery, even it has internal JQLite thing in it when jQuery is not available. Yeah, you're right. Do they still have that? I remember in Angular 1 they did have that they had their own version of jQuery built in. Amir says, I decided to make my own version of jQuery with ES6. That's cool. Christopher says, I prefer to do as much coding as possible in CSS so that the JavaScript doesn't slow down the site. Oh yeah, for sure. CSS is definitely more performant than JavaScript. So it's good to know all the ways you can use CSS to do things that frequently do get done with JavaScript. Crow says server-side rendering is not better for landing page and SEO? Question mark. I'm not sure what the question is. Yeah, server-side rendering. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the question is. So I'll just say like without server-side rendering, if you're trying to run a React app and you're pulling your data in from an API, the crawler, right, your search engine bot that's going to go to your site is not going to stick around long enough to wait for the data to come back from that API call. It's going to look at it and it's going to see basically no content. Whatever content you are pulling from the API isn't going to be there. So it's not going to index those things in search. So that's why you need it to be rendered server-side, and then what gets sent to the client is going to be HTML, right? HTML, CSS, whatever, So that's why you want that. If you have a project where you don't care about the SEO, then maybe you don't want to do server-side rendering. I've done projects where I didn't need SEO, so I didn't. But for me, that's the main reason why I do server-side rendering. Okay, I've gotten to the end of the chat just in time to get some data prepared for my next meeting. And let's see. All right, we have some further discussion in there about SCSS and things like that. Okay. All right, I'm going to end the stream now. I will probably stream again tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching and for all your help in the live chat. So got a little bit done today. Not totally finished with this page, but we got a decent start. And you can check out. Remember, you check out the code. The link's in the description of the video. And if you have any questions, like I said, check me out on social media. I think my Twitter handle's there. If you go to my YouTube page, which is linked, I have links to a lot of my other social media things. So whatever you're most comfortable with, just find me on there, and I'd be happy to help you out with whatever you're working on. So until tomorrow, have a great day.